Here we are getting ready to make a tinsel tree, just to kind of give an old-timey decoration to the living room, and not sure how it's all going to turn out, but we bought some supplies and we'll share those in a moment, what we bought. Or do you want to share what we bought?
Well, when you say tinsel tree, we're talking about the aluminum or silver colored trees.
From like the 1960s, yeah.
Right. It was all silver, and that's what we're trying to do here. So we'll see how it goes. We don't know what we're doing, so we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, here's our supplies. This is just a closet rod, and I think it's 1.25 inches. Doesn't say on it, but anyway, it fits this stand that we already had. Fits it tight, so that'll be our center portion of the tree. And what we're going to try to do is to bore holes around the center, and we haven't figured out the spacing yet. We may start them 12 inches from the floor, 18, we don't know yet. But we're going to bore holes at an angle. We'll determine that when we get to that point. And we bought these pieces of steel rod. This one's 1/4 inch and the other I think is 1/8 inch, these smaller ones. So we'll probably be cutting them in half and putting like that much on each side. That's probably about right. That would give you 3 foot across. Once we get the holes where we want them and we get these pieces cut the way we want them, the length we want, then we've got some silver tinsel garland, and we're going to attempt to glue it on these. We don't know yet on how we're going to do that, but that's the plan.
All right, so here's some more of our supplies. I bought some Rust-Oleum metallic paint and primer in one that we will end up using on the curtain rod to help make it a silver color. And we bought this tinsel. It was 15 foot per package. So our hope is to take the tinsel and some sort of Elmer's glue or tacky glue, and on each half of them we'll glue them down, maybe even have a little bit of it sticking out on the end. Not sure how that's going to work.
The first 3 rows will be the larger rods cut in half, 5 on each row. Alright, we're going to bore our first holes where we have the little dot. There'll be 5 of those holes around the closet rod. And to set our angle, I just cut a block and cut a V in it. And Rita's going to hold the rod tight while I do the boring. And that, you can see, that's just a slight angle on the first run. Then as we go up, we'll probably change that angle, but we'll see. Alright, we had the first 5 holes bored for the bottom section. And I bored them about probably a 1/2 inch deep, 3/8 to 1/2. And you can see they're just going to go in there. A slight angle, not much, but the good thing about using the metal rods, you can bend them if you have to. And when I bored the holes, I did have to offset them. As you can tell, this one over here is higher than the first one. That way they didn't bore into each other as I bored the holes. Alright, for the second row of holes, we raised our block up right here. In the vise, you can see the mark there where the first holes were. We raised it about 1 inch, and that puts more angle. So now we'll bore the next 5 holes. Alright, we have the first 3 rows of holes bored, and I've just got these in here to show you kind of what they look like. You can see that the angle gets sharper as we go up. We're going to be using the smaller rods for the top holes, and the first row of the smaller ones will be 15 inches long. The bottom ones are 18, so it's 15. The next row will be 12. And then the last row at the top will be 9 inches. And that allows us to get 3 pieces out of 1 piece of 3-foot rod. So that's next. Alright, we have all the holes bored in the rod. And I have the metal rods put in. Kind of see the general shape that we went for there. Next thing we'll do is try to put the garland, figure out a way of attaching it to each rod. Okay, I want to show you how I'm doing the garland. Hot glue gun. It's all hot and ready to go. This one's finished. You can see the hot glue about every 3 or 4 inches. And the way I do it, I just let this come over the end about a ½ inch or so, maybe an inch. And I cut it back here about a ½ inch where it leaves room for it to stick into the rod in the center, like that. And then it's got kind of a flat side that's been wound on this board that it came on. And I'm turning that side up to glue to, because it seems to set better like that. And I just set that on. Kind of position it in the middle if you can, like that. And I just put a glue like that. About every 4 inches probably. And then one at the very end there. And then before it dries, I just take my finger or my hand and go like that. And it kind of makes it stick to the around it. And sticks to your fingers too. But anyway. That's how I'm doing it. Then you just set it aside, let it dry. And like I said, like we showed, this is one that's dried. And now Rita can show you what it looks like on the tree.
Okay, so we put a few of the branches in the tree just to kind of get a feel for what it's going to look like. And then we'll have to take these out again because we still need to paint the closet rod, the center of the tree trunk. We need to paint it silver metallic, so.
All right, Rita painted the pole. And we used it's called Rust-Oleum Metallic. It's really just aluminum paint. Yeah, it should make it look better. Won't look like wood anyway. And we had enough garland left that we decided to go ahead and double up on the garland. So instead of just on one side, it's all the way around now. And it looks fuller and it covers up that rod better. You don't see it, so didn't take long. We just a matter of gluing it back on the other side. And here's a topper that goes on the very top of the tree, and it's doubled too, so you don't see the stem. And after the paint dries, we're going to put it all together and we'll show you how much of a mess we made. And I bored the hole in the top. There's our tree topper. Just stuck it down in there. So I think we're ready to put the branches on. Okay, there's our homemade tree. Pretty much turned out the way we wanted it to. I think if we had it to do again, we would put the branches a little closer together. But that would have meant more garland and more rods and more labor. As far as what we spent on this tree, yeah, probably 50 to 70 in that range. So I'll take another video when we get it put in the house and we have it decorated the way we want it. Well, here's the finished tree. We've got our decorations on it. Got a few ornaments.
All right, let me just share some things about some of the ornaments that I did make. This particular one was, well, most of them were made from jewelry from my mother-in-law's collection. This particular one was, I just stranded the beads and then restranded them in a different way and used 22 gauge wire to make the circle. There's about 3 or 4 of them on there. And then this particular one, it was just a strand of beads on a necklace that were woven together, and they did not fall off, so I just cut them into links and then tied a little hanger on the top of them. This pink one is a chain, also one of her necklaces, and I just cut it apart and looped it out. I believe the black one is also one of her necklaces. This particular green and orange trim was in her sewing supplies that I had left over. So this was something that would have been on a pillow because she loved to sew and do things like that. This particular one, there's 2 pieces really. This red one here, it was a white crocheted trim that my mother-in-law had made, and I spray painted it red so that it would show up on the tree. Then we have some iron-on photos or photo transfers that she made of some of the family members from way back when, and she had quilted it and added some extra trim on there, but you can see that she was going to make it into a quilt probably. And here's another necklace that she had in her collection. I just simply cut the loop at the back and just strung it on the tree. But that's what most of our tree is. Oh, and then this one too. This was a scarf. It used to be popular type scarf a few years ago, and it was also in the collection, so I just simply brought it out. And it was already variegated yarn. I did not paint that one. But that's some of the decorations from homemade stuff. Then as you can see down at the bottom, there's a tree skirt, and this was my paternal grandmother's tablecloth. My aunt sent it to me. My aunt is trying to share things of my grandparents, and she sent that to me, so I thought it would make a great tree skirt one day, and this was the tree that it seemed to fit with at the time. And then we also have an angel at the top of the tree, and I read somewhere recently that every tree topper needs to have a star, so one of the ornaments that we had left over in our collection was a star, so I simply attached the tree ornament onto her hands, and now we have an angel and a star as our tree topper. And that was from my collection, the angel was.
So I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to make a silver metallic Christmas tree like you see back in the 50s and 60s. And to make this more realistic, we've got the predictor playing there in the background with an old black and white show. So thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. See you next time. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.